From BBC Radio Scotland, this is Sports Sound.
Don't be stupid, boys. Turn off Clyde, support your side.
I would like to leave this city. This old town don't smell too pretty, and I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. And when I leave this island, I book myself into a soul asylum, 'cause I can feel the warning signs running around my mind. So here I go, still scratching around in the same old hole. My body feels young, but my mind is very old. So what do you say? You can't give me the dreams that are mine anyway. I've been lost, I've been found, but I don't feel bad.
Good day, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. You're listening to the Half the Way World Celtic. Half the Way World? Half the World Away Celtic podcast from Hail Hail Media. You can tell we've been off for a while. My name's Kevin O'Neill, and I'm based in Mandurah in Western Australia, and I'm originally from Coatbridge, and as always joined all the way over on the other side of the country. He's in Melbourne, Victoria, and he's my good friend, and he's also the housewife's favourite, Mr. Patrick Close, originally from Airdrie. Good day, Pat.
Good start, Kevin.
Oh dear, dear.
What did we call it again?
Half the Away World. I think I said, I can't remember what I said. You know, that teaches me I should always read my script for that little intro. I shouldn't look away at anything else. You'd think after a few shows, how many is this, what, or 42nd? You'd think I'd have it. Yeah. You'd think I'd have it down pat by now, as they say. But obviously not, mate. How are you anyway, Pat? It's a long time since we've done one of these. How have you been?
Terrible, yeah. Up and down, Kevers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a few things going on in life, just busy at work, and
yep.
You know, a few friends aren't too good, and we'll sort of try to go and visit them and stuff, and keeping spirits up. But springtime in Melbourne, which is an amazing time of year. It's just weather's been nice, and it's up and down.
It's been pretty hot over there recently, is it not, mate? I've seen the weather, because we had a roaster over in Perth all last week, but then it's cooled down this week.
Yeah,
it's meant to be heating up again, though. But you guys have had it pretty hot.
Well, you think about it, Melbourne's kind of stuck between directly south of Melbourne. Who you think of, Tasmania's obviously there, but you get the the South Pole is a direct line from Melbourne, and then right above us we've got desert. So it's you get these you get a southerly wind, it's cold, and you get a northerly wind, it's fucking hot. So
the exact opposite from back in Scotland.
Yep. So it's it's been good.
Or sometimes in Scotland it was a northerly wind, cold, southerly wind, cold.
Yeah, just not quite so cold. But that's
occasionally.
It was 30. Was it 37 or something yesterday? Or 35? Can't remember now. Bloody hot anyway. And then today it was nice. It was 23, 24 degrees and sunny. Just lovely. Perfect. So great time of year to be in Melbourne. So springtime's here.
Good.
Summer's almost just around the corner. Nights are getting lighter. You can actually have a kick of the football in the back garden. It's AFL season's over, which is sad.
This is just to depress everybody else now back in Scotland, when their nights are getting shorter and darker, and their clocks will be going back shortly as well. And we're coming into the great stuff over here very soon.
Yeah,
don't get too.
Kind of sad the AFL season's over. It's trade time at the moment. If your team's not doing so well, like my team hasn't for the past couple of years, we drafted a lot of players out, and it's time to get some young players back in again and start building up again. So this is kind of our grand final. I know your team's doing well at the moment, Kev. So, but for my team and for Martin's
Well, but not well enough, mate.
Martin's even shiter team who are drug ridden and try to cheat the system and stuff like the injectors as they're known, or the druggos, that sort of team. Essen Dope.
The Essendon injectors.
Essen Dope they were called. I thought it was pretty good. That's quite apt, but anyway. Yeah,
we better say good day. We better not. Well, he's not been introduced yet. Maybe that's why he's been polite, Patrick. That's the thing. But we're also joined on the show tonight by Martin Kelly, also in Melbourne, Victoria. Good day, Martin.
Thank you, and you two can get it right, I'll be.
Why is that, for crying out loud?
Because you had a go at my team, you can get it right, I'll be.
Stating fact, Martin. Was simply stating fact.
Sorry, you're not stating a fact, because we have not done anything wrong. We are totally innocent. We are fine. And you two can get it right up you and count our 16 premierships that we've won. Get it up you.
Tainted every single one of them.
Well, no, they're not. That's ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing ever. Tainted every single one of them. What are you talking about, Pat? Yeah. Wait, just
we know some
yourself.
Other teams. We know some other teams with tainted titles, don't we?
Aye, maybe asterisks. Aye. Anyways, how are you two? How is the Des O'Connor of the podcast there, Pat Close, the Housewives' favourite? How are you, Pat?
I just told you. Weren't you listening, you tool?
No, really?
No.
The Des O'Connor.
Yeah,
I was wondering where you were going with that, but no, that fits.
Yeah,
that fits well.
I'm sure I can actually hang Martin up here. Give me a sec. Let's just try that.
Go for your
hang him up.
Hang him up with the bows. Anyway. Oh no, there goes the expletive tag now.
Right, no, hold on. The boys shouldn't be an expletive tag.
It kind of is.
Oh, how? Come on!
I was kicking a couple of balls out the back earlier on.
Or even I was kicked in the balls. I don't think it should be expletive just for that.
Well, what about this? I'll kick you in the effing balls. Anyway, moving on. And we might have Liam with us later if he can.
I think we will have Liam.
Oh, is he not? I'll be surprised. Shortly. Maybe Liam's doing some other podcast. Maybe Liam's phoned into somebody else.
Liam, who you all know very well, is going to be joining us, but he's a little bit late. I doubt it's his train running late, because the trains in Japan very rarely run late. So I don't know what he's up to.
Yeah, he's phoning into some other podcast. That's what he's doing. He's on the Homeboys or something.
Might be touting himself around again. These other podcasts.
Martin, I think you know something's happened. What's going on here?
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just.
Have you not heard Liam's other podcasts? His appearances on other podcasts?
No. Should I be worried? Oh. Should I reject his call when he tries to call in?
I'd let him in and then just abuse him, because
we can let him on to explain himself.
Aye.
No, Liam will join us shortly, folks. I would hope.
Yep.
And bring some sensibility to this podcast, as he always does. But if you are listening live, and I don't know if anybody is listening live, but if you are, you can interact with us tonight, and the best way to do that is either leave some comments in the Spreaker chat room, and we'll keep a little eye out on that, or you can tweet us. You can send your tweets to @halftheworld88. That's @halftheworld88. And if you want, although we were having some technical difficulties, that's why we're a little bit later on than we meant to be, you can maybe try and Skype us, because there's only going to be the. That's probably a bad idea. Give it a go for a crack and see what happens if you really do fancy it. But it might go pear-shaped. So best way to interact tonight.
Don't encourage it, Kev. We've had enough technical difficulties. Anyone who's out there who actually does use Spreaker, just be very careful of his new Spreaker app for desktop.
It's probably not new though, Pat. We've not been on for over a month, mate. So it's probably been out there for 6 weeks or something.
No. I only got the email a couple of days ago about it. So it's a little bit flaky. So yes, it's got plugins for Skype and all that sort of thing, but didn't work quite so well. So we're back to the normal setup. So that's why we're a little bit late. And we've already got Chris Lynch listening from Dunfermline.
Oh, lovely part of the world. The Kingdom of Fife. Is that right? Aye, Dunfermline's Fife, isn't it?
Aye.
Yeah, that's
is
good.
It? Look, let's face it, they're all East Coasters that we don't really care about if they're from Glasgow. Just throw a wee grenade there.
Oh, hello to
Scoops
hello.
Lee. Scoops Lee's on as well. I reckon Scoops Lee is Mark Lee, who I used to work beside, and also a good Colt Bridge lad, if it is the same Scoops Lee. But you can confirm that. You confirm that or otherwise.
Davy Boy and Falkirk. There you go, David. On their iPhones as well.
Wow.
That's a blue. He's got a blue four-leaf clover. What's going on there, David? Bloody hell.
No, it's green in my... When I'm looking at it, it's green in my screen.
Paul Stewart's listening in as well. He's a good Mandra boy. He's working down to Murphy's to watch the game tomorrow night. Kev, are you and your missus picking me up for the game tomorrow? Oh, he's a cheeky get, isn't he? Look, he's
are you going to one of those parties, Kev? Are you going to one of those parties again?
No. We're going to watch the game.
Oh, okay. I thought that was code.
But Paul, there's a very good chance the answer to your question is yes. We probably will pick you up. I'll let you know.
Chris Lynch says Dunfermline is 5, but he's a Glasgow boy.
Well done, Chris. Well played, mate. Well played. Tommy Doherty says, hail from Fort William. Right, we better get on with stuff. I'm just reading out stuff.
Shout-outs are great. Just do
Tommy Doherty, he's got an Android phone. He doesn't have an iPhone.
A show full of there's my incognito internet persona gone to fuck. No swearing, Scoops. It's a family show, mate. Family bus.
6-2 Kangaroo, big shout out to you as well, mate.
Right, boys. Can you now fuck off out of the chat room? Because you guys don't go to the chat room. Off you go.
Right, you keep your eye on that. No, just keep putting messages on. We'll keep reading them out, and we'll just fill the show out with what we're reading.
and give Pat the shits. So win-win.
We're just doing some fillers till Liam comes on and actually what we're meant to be talking about.
Because he's got the agenda for tonight and we actually don't know what's happening.
Right. No, here we go, right. We're going to, because it's been so long since we've been on, guys, we're not going to talk in great detail about the results up until now because it's old news and there's been internationals and stuff that's happened just now. So we're going to do some kind of general chat on. And the first thing that Liam had put down on our little topics tonight is about recent results for Celtic, both domestically and in Europe. And the question he's posed is, have Celtic progressed or regressed from our same position last season? So I'll put that, first of all, to your good self, Martin. Do you think have we moved forward or have we taken steps back since last season, in your opinion?
Look, probably with some of the players we've lost, we've taken a step back because there's been some massive holes basically left in our team. So I think we probably went backwards. I think it's that simple. I don't think massively backwards, but I think we're not as good a team player for player that we were last year. I think it's that sort of simple. So I'd say we went backwards. I think part of it just is that we're just having to play to where we stand in the our money coming in, money going out sort of thing. I think that's where we're basically sitting. We're trying to cut our cloth to what we can afford to spend, and we're very much bring players in, get them to a certain level, sell them generally to Southampton for around £10 million.
They seem to have a common theme, whereas our strategy does seem to be try and cast your net as well, hopefully as far and wide as possible to bring in some unearthed talent or undiscovered talent. Southampton just wait for us to do that and then come in and buy our players.
But look, you have to say, if that's our policy, and I think that is part of our policy, then it relatively is working. We've sold for players around 10 million in the last couple of years, just about every year. Again, somebody will tell us 8 million, but we're doing okay with that. The hassle is, every time we let one of those 10 million go, well, we're not as good a team as we were when they were in there, unless we're, basically replacing like for like, and when we aren't doing that. So I certainly think we've went backwards. But I think it is what it is. There's a couple of things I think we need to do. I think a couple of things I've been listening to some other podcasts, and the guys were talking about talking about times of games and stuff. The whole moving games and I think people are getting put off buying season tickets, and people are getting put off going because games can be changed at last minute for the TV deal. Realistically, for what we get for the TV deal, I think it's time for us almost to not quite give up on it, but just say we're playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, or 3 o'clock on a Saturday and 3 o'clock on a Sunday, and that's it. That's just all our home games are going to be there, and we give up a good chunk of it, because if we can get another 5,000 on the gate, that makes up almost for the season ticket money, for the TV money, because we're getting 2/5 or nothing from that anyway. But anyway, that's my thoughts. But generally, I think we're not in as good a situation as we were last year.
Pat, you get similar thoughts, or have you got a different view from Martin?
I think yes and no. I mean, probably we didn't really have a great start last year, if you recall. I don't have the figures in front of us, but certainly the feeling this year is we started off a little bit better than we did last year. Remember, we're a fair bit back last year as well, so and we kind of, we just caught up and, obviously went past Aberdeen and stuff like that. So in that way, yeah, okay, we're probably in a better position, a better starting position, when we last year.
Bless you.
Thank you.
On the negative side of it, Martin's right. Like, when you take away players of quality and replace them with, prospects is probably the best way you could put it. Players that could potentially be a decent player. But there's I've been sort of watching a lot of stuff on the draft over here, and there was an interesting term, and it got me kind of thinking of our kind of predicament. So we get rid of Van Dijk and we replace him, with what they're terming this forum is GOPs, and I was like, what's the GOP? What does this mean? And it's good, honest players. You're going from really, really, really
honest
great players.
With an O. GOP.
Ordinary players.
Good ordinary players. Aye.
Would I say honest? Yeah.
Aye.
And it's just like, it's not kind of, to the same standard. So you got that sort of, they're all right kind of guys, and you'd put them in as maybe the third or fourth, option in that position. But in truth, they're just not cutting the mustard, And I was actually thinking when we're covering the podcast, I did see Liam's, have we progressed or regressed? And I was thinking of what Martin had said before about the fact we're selling players and stuff like that. But where's the next £10 million player? Who's in there? Because if that's what we're depending on, what happens? What happens at the end of this year? You've got Beaton is probably the only one that's of potential, but I don't think he's quite to the same level, and not obviously different positions, but not to the same level as Van Dijk or Fraser Forster and stuff like that. So I just don't know where that next £10 million player is going to be. And obviously what they're doing, they're trying to pick up good young Scottish players. Armstrong's a good player, but he's not a £10 million player. Mackay Stevens, he's went backwards since the start of the season, or since the end of last season. So the few guys obviously came in. I certainly think, defensively, and I don't know if you recall, again, I was thinking this all day as well, is the whole, there was a talk last year, I think towards the end of the year, as in the calendar year last year, we had this sort of thought of, is Ronny Deila doing well? Is he going to be the man who's going to take us forward? And I can still remember raising the fact that he had to replace the central defence, because it was more likely we weren't going to have that same central defence at the start of this season. It's proven right, and they haven't replaced it in any way, shape or form. No offence to Effie, I think just to be fair, I've been a supporter of Effie, and I think he's a GOP. He's an all right kind of player, but I think enough's enough. I think there's no way the whole team can have any sort of faith in him when he's making just simple, stupid mistakes, and you can. He
makes them too often, Pat. I think that's what the real issue with Effie is, and in that position, you can't afford to make so many mistakes so frequently.
I also think it's becoming not self-fulfilling, but there's going to be a confidence, and there's going to be everybody around him is going to be worried, and let's face it, guys in the stand are going to be worried. So all jokes aside, when he gets the ball, there's going to be an intake of breath. It's not really going to fill him with confidence. We talked about it before, it was on the thing about what do we think. I unfortunately think it's time for him to go, just because enough people have lost faith in him. He needs a new start somewhere else where, as I said, literally, people aren't worried when he's getting the ball, and there isn't that, oh my God, what's he going to do? There's also, because of his position, it's not like a Samaras where people were going, I love him or hate him sort of thing. And realistically, with Samaras, at least he could bang in so many goals, and there was a percentage thing. With Effie, if it's a good game, we don't lose a goal, but he may not have been brilliant. If it's a bad game, he loses a couple and he gets blamed for it. I think it's just, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think it's time for him to go.
I'll give you Mark. I think I wouldn't say so much go. I certainly think he's lost confidence. The players have lost confidence in him, and I think the fans are now just on his back. And I'm not saying the sort of play you go out and abuse, but there is. I mean, whenever you sort of watch games, you can even okay, we're watching this far away, but you can just tell the whole fans, when it's almost a case of when you get the ball, just get rid of it, just don't do anything stupid, keep it simple. And even if you think of the game against Fenerbahce, he was actually doing okay. Mm-hmm. He was actually genuinely, and and people were commenting on it. I'm not sure. I think it was on the telly actually. It was on the telly the bit I was watching, and it was just a case of he's actually done okay. But it was almost surprised that he was doing okay. Mm. It was the exception to the rule, if you know what I mean. As if they were just waiting for something to happen. And that's really kind of a bit unfortunate, just in his position, because in that sort of spot when he was, with Boyata in the same sort of partnership, he's the senior player there. He's the one that's going to be meant to be the one leading in a way. But I think the best he could probably hope for is probably being third, probably fourth choice sort of central defender. Mulgrew's going to come back. He's going to be ahead of him, and obviously Simunovic. I can't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but Jozo. Anyway, so he's going to come back. He'll come in and he'll be obviously the main guy. Hopefully, he's the guy that we can build that central defensive partnership out of. But I know we're sort of digressing a little bit from have we progressed or regressed? But I think gut feel is we probably regressed a little bit. Like there was a stage last year when it was just brilliant to watch Celtic, and it was you couldn't wait for games to happen. I'm just not kind of getting that feeling at the moment. It's almost like you still watch it, but you're going, oh Jesus, you hope it's a win, and you hope they don't just stuff it up, and that's not a very good feeling to go watching a game as a football fan. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know if you guys feel the same when you're watching games, but that's certainly my kind of feeling at the moment. Still support them, but you just hope they're getting wins rather than kind of expecting it. But
it's still early in the season, and these new players have got to bed in, so I'll talk about that in a little minute. But we have now been joined by Liam. Good day, Liam. How are you, mate?
Hey, boys. How we doing?
Very good, mate. You made it home from your train. I was saying to the guys before you came on that I take it the train wasn't late, because Japanese trains just aren't late, we're all led to believe.
No, I was doing a wee bit of shopping and it took a bit longer than I expected.
What were you buying, Liam?
Well, believe it or not, a Halloween costume. I've got a party I've got to do next week for the kids. So.
And right, you need to elaborate a little bit more now, Liam. What's the costume?
Well, let's just say finding a Darth Vader costume is a bit more difficult in Osaka than you would imagine it might be.
Okay. Bizarrely enough, mate, I was on some Halloween dress-up shop thing online here last night looking for causes, and there was a good Darth Vader one, but you had to pay about $1,000 for it.
What?
Which was a bit much, I'd say. It looked pretty good, right enough, but I don't think it's the type of thing you want to wear for one night. You'd want to wear that to work and everything if you paid $1,000 for it. Just turn up as Darth Vader for a few months.
Boys, did you see the Princess Leia bikini was sold for quite a bit of money? The real one.
How much?
Oh, it was $50,000 or something, wasn't it?
Arthur, maybe more. I'm going to Google it while we're talking, but it was a fair bit of money. You know that boy's getting his missus dressing up in that, whoever bought that.
Rascal stuff. Anyway, Liam, it's good to have you back on, mate. And we're just going through your run list of items, and we are still on item number 1, so this will be a 6-hour show. But yeah, the whole...
a quick one then.
Yes, the whole...
$96,000, which is £63,000 for the Princess Leia bikini.
There you go. And what was it? Just
He's been ripped off. I only paid £20 and I got a full costume. He's only getting a bikini for that.
Aye, but yours has been worn by you That one's been won by Carrie Fisher.
In her heyday.
In her heyday, aye.
Peter Hughes has just tweeted in saying he's listening live for the first time in ages. He's at work in the cold in Dublin. I think we'll do Motherwell 3-0. So fair play to you, Pete. That's at Dundalk Cell. And thanks to Tony Cassidy for sending us out a little retweet earlier on. He's put it out there. But Liam, your own thoughts on Celtic up until now in terms of progression or regression since this time last season?
Sad to say, I think regression. Main thing, the defence, like you say, we've not replaced Denier and Van Dijk.
Yep.
And I think it's not the thing you want to hear, but I'm going to have to say it. I think if the Huns were around, we would have got in better replacements. I think the lack of urgency in the domestic game has prompted the board to say, well, you know what, we're not going to spend money to see if we don't make the Champions League. We've got the Europa League anyway. It's less money, but if we've not spent money, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a very cynical thing from the board. It's like we don't need to face off any challenge domestically, so why spend money on it?
It's an interesting view, Liam, because like you, I think that there is two reasons why. I'm going to. This maybe disagrees with what you're kind of saying as well. In term, not just you, all of you actually, in terms of regression or progression. I think it's easy to compare us to how we finished off last season, I guess. And we were great. So coming into this season, we knew the chance that Van Dijk was going. We knew that was pretty much on the cards. We knew Denier was going back to Man City, and God knows where he could have ended up. I think it was a bit of a long shot if he was going to come back to Celtic for another loan. But for me, they are the two main reasons why our form has dipped as a team. And I would argue the fact that, see, if those two guys had remained one way or another, I don't think we'd have been dropping any of the points we've dropped in the league this season, and I don't think we'd have had those two draws in the Champions League. I think would have been going quite happily. So for me, there's two real reasons. I'm not really looking for anything much more than that just now, but it is disappointing, as you say, that we've not been able to replace either of them. I don't think Boyata is anywhere near as good as his Man City counterpart yet, in terms of Denier. Denier, right from the word go, I think he hit the ground running, and he just looked like a player. He looked comfortable, whereas Boyata's come in and he just doesn't look like a guy. But it's not to say he might not be able to be moulded into something, but he needs somebody with experience alongside him. And unfortunately, Van Dijk, I think, was that guy that gave some confidence and experience to Denier playing alongside him, and the two of those guys got on great on and off the park. They just seemed to click. This whole season we've had erratic. The two centre backs have been erratic in terms of who's been playing alongside each other, and that's why we're even talking about bloody Effie Ambrose, who for me should never be our first pick. He'd always be a stopgap that's just there as a bit of a squad player, one of those GOPs as you called them, Pat. But Simunovic as well, who's come in, and he's hardly kicked a ball for us because of injury. So he'll need time to settle down. Right now, I can't see him as being of the same kind of class as Van Dijk, but you never know. He commanded quite a fee, this guy, when we brought him in, and there's a lot of good stuff said about him. But it's just that whole uncertainty at the back that's cost us this season, and I'm not as likely to say that we've regressed, because if we're talking about it, at the same time last season, we were in a worse position at this time last season. than we are this season. But I think we've got it so fresh in the mind as to how we finished off last season, and we were looking really good. And just the loss of those 2 players for me has been the biggest change in it. I think it's affected the whole team. Johansson's he's not playing as well as he has been. Mackay-Steven, as you mentioned, Pat, as well, he's kind of faded away a bit, and we just don't seem to be firing in all cylinders. But I think that is because of a lack of confidence in what's happening at the back.
Yeah, there's certainly something missing. It's just there's no real kind of spark in the team. If you know what I mean, there's nothing. Maybe we got a lot of that even through Johansson and the likes of driving forward in that last year, but we don't seem to have that just at the moment. And there's just something missing. I always think, and I will always make reference to this. My take on a good Celtic team and Celtic teams in the past is how many players of captain like quality you'd have in your team. So you got really good players. You got like Lambert, Lennon, Larsson, and these sort of guys. And even back to when we started going, you'd Aiken, you'd Tommy Burns, you'd Murdo McLeod, you'd all these sort of guys, McStay, playing in the same team, and every one of them could have been captain of the team. And then when the teams aren't doing well, I just look at it and you say, well, who at the moment would you pick out with Scott Brown? Who could potentially be captain of the team? You wouldn't give it to, you maybe give it to Lustig. You wouldn't do Izzy. You wouldn't do the central defence. Maybe the goalkeeper. Maybe Johansson.
Yeah, Craig Gordon, I think, would be one of the candidates for it.
But,
you
think of when we've had sort of successful and exciting sort of teams, you could have picked, out of the starting 11, you could have picked 5, 6, 7 guys who could have been, captains and could captain and lead the club and lead the team that day. Whereas now we just don't have that. You wouldn't give it to Forrest. You wouldn't give it to Mackay-Steven. You wouldn't give it to Armstrong, as good a player as you wouldn't. And I just think that there's just no sort of real leadership. There's no Van Dijk kind of gave you that at the back. There was that sort of he was very vocal and stuff like that he did, and he made sure that things were if you did something wrong, he let you know about it. You got that with Scott Brown in the middle. Up front there only is one player, so he's captain of himself. But what I mean, there's no sort of leading forces. I've been in each area. Lustig maybe, but again, I don't know. He's obviously got.
And remember, we've had kind of when Brown's been injured, and Brown's going to be out tomorrow, as I believe. So we have rotated the captaincy, and Johansson's taken on that role at times, but I don't think he's not that type of. He's not a very vocal leader on the park. Chris Commons as well has taken the armband quite a few times, but and Charlie Mulgrew, of course, as well, who's kind of drifted away out of sight completely. But so they have done that in the past, but whether they're real captain material, you rhymed off a few players there, the likes of Roy Aiken, Paul McStay, and guys like that as well. You couldn't put them up there with those guys at all. But so there have been other captains that are in that team that we've got just now. There's players there just now that have worn the armband, but there's still not that. There's not that kind of leadership, and it's that leading by example thing as well. I think that guys like Van Dijk, he was able to do that just because you had confidence in him. And again, he was the type of guy that new guys, and they're still trying to figure out each other. And there've been too many mistakes, and we have been punished early on in the season. And it affects everybody right through to Craig Gordon, the keeper, as well. He's unfamiliar with the guys that are playing right in front of him. And I'll go back to the goal that we lost at Aberdeen to lose that game as well. That's the type of goal. There is no way in the world we'd have lost that goal last season with the players we had in defence.
It's another thing you have to think of as well, is that Dial has been chopping and changing so much since the start of the year, and he did this last year as well, from what I recall. Don't know if it's 100%, but he sort of mixed things up a little bit. Try to find his best formation, I guess. But you think in defence, the defence is chopping and changing every single week. I don't know what they are. I haven't seen
Yep.
the sort of who's fit and who's not for tomorrow. Tomorrow night's game. But you know what I mean? It's just like the chopping and changing all the time. And in defence, obviously you want to have that sort of partnership. You want, if it's going to be the same 4 every week, then you play the same 4. You don't just chop and change for the sake of it. Sometimes Lustig plays, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes Izzy plays, sometimes he doesn't. If Ambrose is in there, then it's it could be somebody different the next day. So it's kind of, I don't think that helps either. And I'm not sure that some of it's going to be enforced. Some of it you won't have any choice. For injuries or suspension and stuff like that. But if he gets sent off against Hearts, was it? So he's got to sort of change things for that. But so that probably doesn't help either. So I don't know. Obviously, don't want to sort of labour on it. I don't think a bit too much, but I think the gut feeling from all of us is that there's been a bit of a step backwards rather than a step forward. But
apart from me,
yeah. I don't even
no,
think
we've lost.
signings.
In my opinion, we've lost our 2 best players from last season. I know Johansson won that Player of the Year, but for me, our best 2 players last season were 2 guys that we lost in a close season, and that's really the difference in that team.
Yeah, and even who were brought in as well hasn't really been inspiring. I mean,
no, they haven't. But again, we've not even talked about him yet. But that's maybe a discussion for another time as well, because I think we've spoken too much about this one. But we'll maybe move on, and I need to have a little sip of my wee drinky poo here. Wait a wee minute. That's nice. I've moved off the height.
I don't know if you saw the post. Kathleen Green says you're a ball bag. So
that's my sister.
Words to those effect. So
aye, that's my darling sister. I saw that in there. Disgraceful patter, sis, who broke toes by walking out to feed rabbits in the middle of the night and tripped over stones. What's that all about? See, when your wee brother's not there to look after you, see the kind of pish that happens. So Martin agreed with her as well. Martin, you've got a lot to learn, man. A lot to learn. Disgraceful.
No, you're part of this pish.
Scoops
you're part of pish, mate.
Well, tell us something we don't know. Scoops Lee comes in and says Denier took a bit of time to get up to speed. I disagree, Scoops Lee. Disagree, mate. I remember his debut and I thought he was outstanding. He looked like a player. Obviously, you don't know too much about football, Scoops. I've seen you today.
And as one person comes off.
That's it.
Oh, Scoops Lee was a fantastic player, and he knows how bad I was. So, but Scoops, you obviously did not see. You obviously didn't see his debut. Maybe you did, but if you did, you couldn't have been watching him very much. Tony Cassidy's now jumped into the chat room and Spreaker as well, and he says, "Good day, Cobbers. Get it right up, yees. Come on the hoops. Positive, positive, positive. Come on." I think that's how you type that out, Tony. Kieran Tierney doing well, and I must admit, Kieran Tierney did very well, and he was thrown into the Fenerbahce game. A bit of a weakness for us. They could exploit that, but I thought he was one of our better performers on the night. He acquitted himself well. Kieran Tierney at left back.
I know. I've read and heard a lot of people say the same thing, but really, did he? There were so many crosses coming in from that side that he did okay. I don't think he was as good as people were making out. Not to say he's not a good player. He's a good young player and stuff like that, really good prospects and stuff, but there were a lot of crosses. I think he could just been a little bit tighter on his man, I reckon. That's my take on it.
No,
he did okay, but he was... Yeah, there was a lot coming in from that side, and it's hard. I mean, obviously his first sort of European game, well, I don't know if his first European, but certainly that standard anyway. But I thought he could have done a wee bit better defensively, but that's just my take on it. I was getting a bit annoyed the fact he was, the player only needed half a yard to get a cross in, and obviously a damn good player, but I just thought he'd be a little bit tighter on his man. So anyway,
fair enough. Now we'll talk now about Scotland's second biggest team, Aberdeen. And how's their title challenge going? Is it they started off great? They started off better than us. They beat us up at Pittodrie, Hill of Dung. But they've started to falter a little bit in the last couple of weeks. So, are they going to give us a serious title challenge this season, or is it going to be an absolute done deal for us again? What's your thoughts on that, Liam? Liam?
I think it'll be about the same as last year, to be honest.
Yeah? They'll take us...
last year. They'll get within maybe 10 points here.
Right, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Done deal, but not serious. They're, in your opinion, no chance are they going to win the league this season?
No, although they might beat us again. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
One game. Yeah.
They're away to Ross County tonight, back in Scotland, or the wee small hours over this side of the world, half the world away, but that could be a tricky game for them. Ross County seem to be going quite well this season in the league. They've won a few games and they're up there in the top half of the table, so that might be a tricky wee game for them up there in Dingwall. But it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Martin, what's your thoughts on the Dandy Dons? How do you think they'll go?
Look, I think they'll do all right. I actually think they've got an all right squad. I know they got humped last week, but I think they'll give us a bit of a crack. I think we will win the league, and I think we'll win it by sort of 10 or 15 points. And again, I think all the media will say it's an absolute disgrace. We haven't won it by 45 points, and if we win it by anything less than 10, then we failed. Blah blah blah. Whatever negative connotations they can put on it, they will, no matter what we do. So we win it by too many. Well, we're just the league's rotten, and if somebody gives us a challenge, well, we're rotten. So, I think they'll give us a bit of a thing. I think we'll still win the league by maybe by 5 games. I suppose it's that simple. Yeah, but I also do think they'll give us some tough games. It's that simple.
And Pat, your thoughts on the Dandy Dons this season?
Nah, they fizzled. We gave them a head start last year, and we still beat them by that many. And we gave them a head start, but they blew it, I reckon.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't see. I think it's just kind of fizzling out there. That's it. Martin said decent team, but that's it. They're just a decent team. I think they're I think they're fantastic. We're not exactly firing all cylinders, but got far more quality than what they've got. So if they were, bottom line is if we lose the next 3 games and they win, then all right, there's going to be a bit of a challenge, but. I don't think they're playing any better than what we are at the moment, and the fact that St Johnstone took 5 off them. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it was one of those St Johnstone games against, where even the St Johnstone, I don't know, it was a coach or one of the players came out and said that basically everything that they did on the day went right. Every shot they hit went in. Every pass he made was accurate and stuff. So it's probably just one of those days. But 5-1 at home against St Johnstone. It'd be interesting to see how many teams in the Scottish Premier League. And if that's one of the challengers, I don't know. I just think I think that kind of moment's going, but we'll see.
Tommy Wright at St Johnstone though he's got a bit of a knack for doing well. Our record against St Johnstone in recent times hasn't been the best. They beat us at Parkhead last season, and we've drawn a couple of games with them as well. And it always seems to tactically he seems to be a good coach. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the reason that they went out and they absolutely destroyed them last week was because, or 2 weeks ago, whenever the hell it was, whenever there was our last domestic game. But yeah, it was. I wouldn't be surprised if he's watched them and knows where their weaknesses are. Aberdeen are going to come and have a go at you, and he was able to play against us that way, or defend against us that way, and come away with a win at Celtic Park last season. So it surprised me in one way with the actual scoreline, but it didn't really surprise me that they got a result against them. So yeah, we'll see how they go. I think like Liam said, I think Aberdeen they'll be the team, I think, that will finish second. Between them and Hearts, I still think Hearts have got a bit to show this season as well, even though they just came up last season. I think Hearts will do quite well this season. And I think your 1, 2, 3 is probably going to be ourselves and Aberdeen, then Hearts. But I don't think Hearts will be too far away come the end of the season either. But yeah,
I'll tell you one interesting one is my beloved Dundee United, obviously. Bottom of the league and really, really struggling. I mean, you think that they've sacked McNamara. You've got to feel. In a way, I'm not saying McNamara is the best, coach in Scotland, but you think of what they went through, from up there challenging in cup finals and that sort of stuff, and now look where they are. But same state as us. When you've got a club that downsizes and replaces, the quality players with lower quality players, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
They're up against it. I mean, I hope they don't go down, I'll be honest with you. But
they've done it before and they came back up. Remember, they did get relegated and they ended up coming back up, though. And it's not that long ago that happened.
But yeah, it's just one of those ones. I know people kind of laugh at it and say it's, they need a strong this and a strong that in Scotland, but I think you do need a strong United. You need strong United, Aberdeen, Hearts and Hibs. That's kind of the ones you need sort of challenging and stuff like that. You don't want Dundee United down there. I mean, it wasn't so long ago Aberdeen were down there as well, I suppose. But anyway, that's I hope they kind of get themselves get their act together and start climbing up the league a little bit. So.
Yep. That's fair call, but yeah, so we're all pretty much saying, even although after the first discussion point, we're all saying we've regressed, but we're still going to win the league at a canter, and Aberdeen's going to be probably second, maybe third to Hearts.
Everyone else has regressed further and quicker than us. Maybe it's something to do with that.
Which can happen, of course. Which can happen. So, I mean, in terms of our performance in Europe just now, we've played 2. We haven't lost a game. So, in one respect, you say that's fantastic, but bloody hell, there were two draws that could have so easily been two wins. Maybe the result in Amsterdam, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but when you're scoring 2 goals in the Amsterdam Arena, it's pretty good going. But it was a shame to end up drawing that game, and then the Fenerbahce from being 2 goals up and being quite comfortable at 2 goals up after we started a little bit shaky in that game. We got to grips with it, and two goals up just before half time. You think this is great, this is crazy, going 2-0 up at half time. We're laughing, then we lose a goal just before half time, lose a goal quickly after half time. And I'll be honest, I was thinking we might have went on and bloody lost that there. So yeah, it's been, well, I was going to say it's been good in one respect and bad in another, but we're sitting second in the table. We've got supposedly the weakest team to play coming up back-to-back games with Molde from Norway, but they're actually sitting pretty at the top of the league just now. But how do you think, guys, we're going to do in the Europa League? I'll ask you first, Martin.
Look, I think we'll do okay. I think that's it. I think Ajax, I think a lot of time, and this sounds ridiculous, but it comes down to time. And see if at the Amsterdam Arena we were getting humped and then, scored a draw with 10 seconds to go or something, then we would have been jumping our own height and saying it was brilliant. Same with Fenerbahce, if they didn't score right near the end. If you look at it, you're right, Amsterdam Arena, 1-0 up after 8 minutes. They equalise. Then at 42 minutes, we're doing well. 6 minutes to go, they equalise. It's not quite a timing thing, but Amsterdam Arena, gone against Ajax, if they'd offered us a draw beforehand, would we have taken it? I would assume we would.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
At home, Fenerbahce, we're doing well. Everything's looking good. Even it's not even all right. Everything's looking good, and suddenly they score and it's shit. It's just we. It's not that we threw it away, but it's a timing thing, and it's a timing of when we scored goals. Like we're 2-0 up after 32 minutes. It's happy days at home, and then suddenly 43 and.
I'm guessing you're reading this off the internet.
Totally, mate. Totally looking just to go back and get the exact times and stuff. But, look, would we have taken, Ajax Amsterdam offered the draw, we'd have taken it. Fenerbahce are a tasty team. You know, spent a lot of money and everything. Again, 2-2 at Parkhead. We never want to lose at Parkhead, so that was probably disappointing. I think we'll do okay. But I think that'll be it. I think we'll do okay. I don't even know, is it the top 2 go through in the Europa League?
Yeah, it is. But
right.
Yeah, I think being 2-0 up at home to Fenerbahce when they actually started that game, the better team. They were knocking about quite well, and I was a little bit worried. But then, as soon as we got a grip of the game, and then we went up, we went ahead, and then when we got to second, I thought, right, this is great. We just get to half time, and that would have been the game done and dusted, I reckon, if we'd have got to half time at 2-0. But Jesus wept, Effie, bloody hell, man, nightmare, absolute nightmare. And it just gave them confidence. That's the thing. It gave them the confidence, and then when it went to 2-2, that was them even more. And I thought, bloody hell, we're going to be lucky to come away with a point here, the way it was going. But we had more chances ourselves in that actual game, and we could have, and we maybe should have won it in the end. But it's poor the way it goes. I suppose if you'd have looked at it now, even the most, well, maybe not the most educated, because the most educated football fans would probably know that Molde are no mugs at all, but they were the lowest seeded team in that group, and they're sitting top of the table just now. We've got them coming up our next 2 games, home and away, and I'm probably more worried about those games than I have been about the previous 2, to be honest, because there'll be too many of our fans think will still, even based on the fact that they are sitting top of that table just now, there'll be too many of our fans that just think, they're the bottom seeds, we Norwegian team, and they'll expect us to roll over them. But I don't see it going like that at all. I'm pretty concerned. We could easily qualify from that group, or we could easily finish up bottom of that group. The way things stand
Kev,
right
you're
now,
saying about the Norwegian thing. Don't you think that's at times a bit of it's that arrogance of, well, I've never heard of them, I don't know that much about them, so they must be rotten, you know?
That is exactly my point, Martin, to be honest. That's exactly my point. And I mean, because they were the 4th seeds as well, I think too many would. I mean, I'll be honest as well. I mean, being over here now, maybe if I was back in Scotland and had a bit closer handle on what's happening in European football, I might have known what was going on with them. But when you look at it, they're the bottom seeds, Molde, Norwegian team. You think, okay, it's not the strongest league in the world. We all know Rosenborg years ago used to be really strong in the Champions League when Bratback was there, etc. But I wasn't worried about Molde until their last bloody 2 results. It's not many teams go to Turkey, come away with a win, no matter who you're playing over there, because first of all you're fearing for your life, fans and players, and to come away from there with a win, I thought was an outstanding result, and then draw against Ajax speaks for itself as well. So I'm quite worried about Molde, I must admit. I mean, Liam, what's your thoughts in the European campaign so far?
I mean, it's like you said. It's, you know, if we'd been given the choice of starting off with a draw against Ajax and a draw against Fenerbahce, you would take it. But it's just the circumstances of it. It is 2 games we should have won, and I think the draw in Amsterdam, I'm happy with that, because that's one that, you know, a point away from home in Europe's always good, right? But the Fenerbahce one, that could come back and bite us in the arse, you know.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
That's the game we should. You've got to. I mean, it's a cliche, but you've got to win your home games in Europe.
Right, correct.
And we had them on the rack, and we didn't finish them off, and they came back and they nearly beat us. Yeah. I've got a horrible feeling we're going to finish 3rd. I think one of Fenerbahce or Ajax is going to crash and burn and finish bottom. Molde are going to surprise us and possibly win the group. It's a question of Celtic and whoever the other team is shooting out for 2nd place, I think.
Do you not think there's a possibility
everybody's
he could finish
Molde? I think they're a very good team.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Pat, what's your views on it at all, the Europa League, and how we're going to do in the remaining games?
Essentially, we should be sitting top with 6 points. Simple as that. Again, it comes back to that defensive frailties. Yeah, get that sorted out, and we will do and should do okay. I know people are saying Molde and stuff like that, on top of it and all that sort of stuff, but look, I reckon you could see, even when we were playing Fenerbahce, okay, we're 2-0 up, you could kind of see how you can beat them, because I think their stars weren't exactly in fantastic form, certainly for the money I'm sure that they'll be on, but they weren't the kind of superstars that people probably remember, with Van Persie and Nani, these sort of guys. But no, I think just our team is kind of being built for that sort of European style, and that sort of one man up front and hitting teams on the break and all that sort of stuff. And these games should be perfect for us, because that's when you're playing away from home, that's exactly the way it should be. And when you're in the lead in sort of Amsterdam, then you'd but you'd kind of hope that they'd be well drilled enough and and disciplined enough that they can sort of just get the final victory, if you know what I mean. So I'll be honest, it almost felt like a loss when coming away from both of those games. I thought they were just both were there for the taking, and I was pretty naffed off. I mean, to be fair, and in hindsight and looking back, and I didn't look back at the whole game, but certainly little snippets of it here and reading back on it and looking at some of the stats and stuff, even when it went 2-2, probably at that stage you're looking at it going, we're going to get smashed here. We just don't have it. But to be fair to them, we're the ones that ran out the game probably a bit better than what they did. Whether it was a home advantage or whether it's a fitness thing, I don't know. But again, it's just those silly mistakes and stuff like that we seem to keep making. You think even like that. People were criticising Craig Gordon for the second goal against Ajax, or the cross that came in and it went through. But I reckon they're pretty hard, because you've got a guy that's like a yard and a half away from him. You don't know if he's going to header it, touch it, leave it. You just take that chance of what you reckon the end result's going to be. And unfortunately, he took the chance of the guy's going to get a nick on it, and unfortunately he didn't. So the ball just trickled right.
But see, my view of that part is as you say, when the ball's a yard and a half in front of you or whatever, my view of that as a goalkeeper is, if that ball's coming into that area, you go out and you get it. Whether you get a fist to it or whatever, but you go out and get it. You don't wait to see what the guy in front of you is going to do with it. If it's only a yard and a half in front of you or whatever, you come out and do something with it. And it was similar to that goal. You know what I mean? That goal up at Pittodrie as well, which is still pictured in my mind right now. You could just see it happening, and it was just the defence was to blame and the keeper was to blame in my opinion. The whole defence was to blame for that silly goal that we left as well. Just a guy unmarked for a tap in. It should never ever happen from a high ball coming in.
Yeah, I kind of get that. I don't think in terms of what Craig Gordon does, and I know people are saying that, but I don't recall him being the sort of goalkeeper that hits packs of players hard to get his hand on the ball. He's good at taking
and I don't
and
think any keepers do nowadays, Pat, to be honest. I don't think too many of them do, but it's when you put that ball, and you always hear about commentators saying it, you put it into that danger area just between the last defender and the keeper and stuff, and what it does is breed indecision. That's what it does, and I think Craig Gordon's confidence, because of who's playing in front of him this season, he's not as confident as he was last season, and you can get that, you can understand that. And I think it is going to take just a bit of time to settle. But unfortunately, because the European games come thick and fast early in the season for us, that's what kind of makes or breaks our European campaign. If the European campaign was later on in the season, we would maybe find ourselves, as you say, we probably would have had 6 points out of 6. But again, because we've had to effectively rebuild our defence, going into this campaign, that's one of the reasons that we never even made it to the Champions League, and it's another reason why we're only sitting on 2 points out of 2 games in the Europa League. But until such times as the defence get their arses in gear and get things sorted out, and I'm sure it will happen, I'm sure we will settle down, and I'm pretty sure it'll be Simunovic and Boyata will be our first choice 2 at the back just now, because that's all we've got to work with really. and whoever
I
else
reckon,
plays.
I'd reckon I'd put Mulgrew in there before in the two of them at the moment. That's saying something.
Nah.
I don't have much confidence in either of them.
Something.
You'd like to hope that that the sort of commanding sort of centre half is what Simunovic, Jozo.
Yeah, and he
going to be like.
Yeah, and he needs games, Pat. That's the thing. I mean, he's only, I don't know how many minutes of football he's actually played for us, and I wasn't overly impressed with him in his debut. I wasn't overly impressed with Boyata either, but I can see Boyata slightly improving. But again, that guy, we've not played with a settle back two for any length of time at all this season. For injury or poor form or whatever, or they're still just trying to test things out. But once we get a settle back two, I think things will improve. But again, it'll be a settle back two, but it still won't be anywhere near as good as the back two we had last season. I'm pretty sure of that. However, we'll see. Alistair Jack, who's obviously a regular listener to the podcast and contributor, Alistair says the back four needs to be settled to be good, and once that's sorted, then we're all good. Regards, guys. And he also says that Ajax and the Turks will cut each other up, and we take minimum 4 points out of 6. I love your optimism, Al. I love your optimism. But you never know, mate. It might happen. We shall see. The guys, I'm going to move on to, because I know it's getting late over there in old Melbourne town, but I'm going to move it on, fast forward a little bit to Celtic FC sent out a tweet during the international break there, and it was a tweet that said "Good luck to Ireland," and it caused all manner of hoo-ha. And then there was allegations of why good luck to Ireland, why not good luck to Scotland, and blah de blah de blah, and all this pish, right? So, but apparently, and again, I didn't really see too much of this. I read it all after the event because I'm not a great fan of the old international stuff anyway. It doesn't float my boat too much. It doesn't do too much for me. So usually when Celtic aren't playing, I switch off until they're just around the corner playing again, sort of thing. So anyway, I read all this second hand. But apparently Celtic did send something out of Scotland, but whether it was an afterthought or whatever, I'm not too sure. But of course, being Celtic, everybody's on our back. So the tabloids love all that pish, and then you get all your Muppets of the day jumping on the back and saying that's a disgrace, blah blah blah. Scottish club wishing Ireland good luck, why aren't they wishing Scotland good luck, blah blah blah. Now, what do we think about this whole thing, guys? Is it wrong for Celtic to wish luck to Ireland going into their fixtures? Is it outrageous? Is it sticking two fingers up at Scotland? Is it that people want to kill themselves over such things? Or what makes people so rabidly, venomously show so much hatred towards us when you wish a team or a nation good luck in a competition? A nation in which our club was formed from. I'll ask you first your opinion, Liam.
Right, straight off, this is total bollocks. It's purely very, very thinly veiled anti-Irish racism. Mm-hmm. And the media here, especially the Daily Record, is pandering to the fucking knuckle-dragging Huns who buy that paper by making a story out of nothing for the sake of trying to sell newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
I mean, see, in terms of, I don't know how close you were to the actual story itself, because as I said, Liam, I read about it after the event, but I honestly skimmed across it because I do not pay too much attention at all during the international break to anything that's going on. But that was my view of it. It was they sent a message to Ireland, but they did send a message to Scotland. But whether or not it was done after the event is a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a whoops, maybe we did take the eye off the ball there. But I mean, who gives a shit?
Sorry, Kev.
Kev.
Can I just quickly interrupt there, mate? I've literally, because I knew this was coming up, I've jumped on Twitter on a Celtics feed. So the first one was good luck to Craig Gordon tonight in the qualifier. quickly followed by good luck to
All
Scott
right.
Brown in the qualifier, quickly followed by good luck to Charlie Mulgrew, then James Forrest, then Lee Griffiths, then good luck to Scottish FA at the Euro qualifier tonight, then good luck to the Irish FA, then good luck to all the teams. Now, that's exactly so.
So that's
They
the
were wishing
timeline.
a
That is
whole-
the actual timeline.
I'm literally looking on it now. So unless Celtic have went in and played games, literally Craig Gordon first, bang, 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 all the players. I'll let Liam speak. You could say, obviously, hold on a minute, should they have? There wasn't. I don't think there was any Celtic players. And sorry, later on, I said good luck to Michael Lustig in tonight's game in the qualifier as well. Now you could argue, well, there wasn't any Celtic players playing for Ireland, so why should they have wished it good luck?
Is that what the outrage was about?
No, I think it was because from what I gather, and look, I will let Liam go, but let Liam speak about this. But from what I gather, it was that obviously Ireland were in the same group as Scotland, so if Ireland won, it was going to affect Scotland. And obviously they were wishing Celtic players. Again, I heard in another podcast, and I'm going to try and find it, but I believe Celtic also wished good luck to... here we go. Sorry, this is exactly what I thought it was. The day before, good luck to Tommy Roderick as Australia take on. So I think if there was a Celtic involved, they were wishing them good luck on international duty, I think. Now, the only thing, I don't think there was any Celtic players in Ireland. But to me, we've got Irish roots, and they're just wishing them, now part of it was there was a
Martin,
hashtag.
not just that, there are hundreds of thousands of Irish fans and Irish diaspora all over the world that are Celtic fans. So I think it would be more of a faux pas if you didn't wish Ireland luck. And for anybody to suggest that is having a go at Scotland, it's just as Liam says, it's just the usual anti-Irish racism that still goes on in Scotland to this day, and it's the only country it goes on into this day.
Well, can I add something to it? And I did do an email to you boys. There was the comments before the Republic game against Scotland where about these players, McGeady, specifically, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They should, Scottish players, McCarthy as well, right? These boys shouldn't be playing for the Republic. They should be playing for Scotland. Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the absolute and utter hypocrisy of let's just name a couple of players off the top of my head. Andy Gorham, Stuart McCall, not Andy Gorham, Stuart McCall, Richard Gough. Let's just name three players off the top, and then you're right, Commons. So it's all right for Scotland.
John Maloney.
Right. It's all right for Scotland. Sean Maloney, who scored that night. It's all right for Scotland to take players, but if any player happens to look away from Scotland, that's the worst thing ever. I'll add to that. Why are these players deciding now? I have no idea, and I'm not going to speak for the players or why they decide to play for the Republic rather than Scotland. But maybe they grew up, and their parents or grandparents were Irish and grew up with far too many dumb paddy jokes and far too many feeling like a second-class citizen in their own country. That's why they've chose to do that. But rather than have a wee look in on themselves and go, maybe we have done this and maybe we've not. And I think this discussion we're having right now about the whole, oh my God, Celtic can't do that, it's been unpatriotic, blah, 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 blah. When people at Ibrox happen to wear England tops and that's okay. But you can't, maybe they have to take a look at themselves and how the country is before you start having a go at Celtic and having a go at players for deciding not to play. And the hypocrisy, some people need to take a good long hard look at themselves. I'll now get off my high horse.
But I think in the case of Aidan McGeady, and McGeady's probably coming towards the end of his career now, but in the case of Aidan McGeady, it was a lot more simpler, or it was a lot far simpler. The reason why Aidan McGeady played for Ireland, and it's simply because he was brought up through the youth ranks of Ireland. Scotland weren't interested in him at the time. Ireland had him going through their youth system from a very young age. So see if when he came to senior football, he actually turned his back on Ireland, that had actually brought him right through the ranks. I'd say it would have been more hypocritical and more of an outrage if he jumped from being an Ireland international at schoolboy level to all of a sudden start playing for Scotland.
Kev, is there not also something?
That would have been worse.
I'd heard that if you played in Scotland for Scotland schoolboys or whatever, they didn't want you playing. Was it for your school or something on weekends or some sort of thing? Where Ireland didn't really care about that. So one of the things was McGeady could actually just play more football than he wanted. But again, let's talk about the hypocrisy. Let's talk about, and I read this a while ago, from Scott McDonald getting approached from, and I think it was when Walter Smith was in charge. Scott McDonald getting approached going, do you want to play for Scotland? And Scott McDonald's, I think mum and dad are both from Scotland, so he would qualify. But he said, and look, I believe the line was, I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to give up playing for Australia for an under 21 cap. If it's going to be a real cap, then we'll talk, right? So let's stop the hypocrisy. Let's stop it's all right for us to take players, but Jesus, we couldn't have somebody going and playing for that Republic of Ireland. That's just terrible, right? And look, as a dad of three boys, my kids actually qualify for three countries. If you go back to the grandfather, they were born in Australia. I'm obviously born in Scotland. My parents were born in Ireland. Now, I think there's the two different types. There is that I feel like a Scotsman, Irishman, whatever, even though I wasn't born there because of my family heritage and I want to play for them. Or there is the simply, do you know what? This team doesn't want me. I can go and play for somebody else and get to a World Cup, right? But you know what? You can't have your cake and eat it. And as I said, there's a huge amount of players that have got caps for countries, and I don't think they love the country. I don't think they would live and die for it, right? But do you know what? Let's stop being a hypocrite. Let's stop Scotland. And part of it is some of the commentators need to cop onto themselves and take a good long hard look at themselves about why these guys aren't. And people for too long, people were treated like second-class citizens in the west coast of Scotland if they were Irish. So maybe that's why they don't want to play for Scotland. And as I said, some people need to take a good long hard look at themselves before they start having a go at players for deciding not to. So I'll now take a breath.
Well, Martin, I'm maybe not 100% the same as yourself and all of that, but again, my father's born and bred in Scotland. My mother was born and raised in Ireland, and again, through my upbringing, rightly or wrongly, when I was brought up, I was brought up feeling more Irish than Scottish. I was proud of being born in Scotland, and I'm so glad I was born into the Celtic family. But summer holidays, October week, school holidays, we would go over to Ireland, and my mother's side of the family, they're all over in County Mayo, and I was brought up feeling more Irish, and the older I got, the more Irish I felt, and I was very proud of that fact as well. I hold an Irish passport, but I'm quite proud now that I've came to Australia. I've got fonder feelings for Scotland than I probably ever had when I lived in Scotland, because one of the reasons that I probably didn't support Scotland as strongly as I could have or should have was because of that kind of anti-Celtic, anti-Irish feeling that exists in the country. And a lot of people say it's a West of Scotland problem. Through my experience, it's not just a West of Scotland problem. There's pockets of society in Scotland where there is just an anti-Irish feeling throughout the country, and it's just it's a poison. So when I was living in Scotland, I had no qualms, and anybody, the guys that know me, well, they'll be able to vouch for this 100%. When I was living in Scotland, if Ireland were to play Scotland, I would have been supporting Ireland. I've got no qualms about saying that. In fact, the only international game I've ever been to in my life was Scotland v Ireland at Hampden Park. But I was there in the Ireland end supporting Ireland with my cousin. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I certainly felt more Irish than Scottish. But coming over to Oz,
again, without getting into too deep, why did you feel that? Was it? And as I said, I grew up, and there was the dumb Paddy jokes to me. There was the negativity to Catholics and to Irish Catholics in the West. And sorry, it's not just the West Coast of Scotland, but certainly that was part of it. Look, I'm Scottish because that's where I was born, and I'm very, very proud of being Scottish. But I'm also extremely proud of my Irish heritage. I travel on an Irish passport for a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons is I'm extremely proud of my Irish background, and I make sure my 3 boys know about me being born in Scotland, and being Scottish, full stop. That's it. I was born there, and I was Scottish, and it brought me up, and it made me the person that I am today, and I'm very, very proud of doing that. But I'm also extremely proud of my background. If people haven't read it, there's a brilliant book called McCarthy's Bar. He's a first generation, he's actually now passed away, but he's a first generation English guy who talks about how he can be born and brought up in England and suddenly gets to Ireland and it feels like home. And he says, I don't know how to explain it because it shouldn't be, because it's never been my home, but it just feels like that. Again, it's, to me, the whole tweetgate, I'll call it, is more than, and I totally agree with Liam, it's a Daily Record pandering to their thing, and it's easy to have a go at Celtic, and it's easy to have a go at, oh, we are being anti whatever, rather than, actually, we wished a whole lot of people good luck. And do you know what? We were formed from Irish immigrants to try and feed the Irish and the poor at the East End of Glasgow. And rather than talk about that, let's talk about how we're being anti-Scottish. So yeah, as I said, to me, there's a lot of issues with this, but they would rather talk about people being unpatriotic. However, cheering on Sean Maloney, who was born in Malaysia, all of the players that are rhymed off, that all were not born and bred Scottish, but that's all right because they're playing for Scotland rather than have a good long hard look at themselves.
I think it's an anti-Celtic and an anti-Irish thing, Scott, Martin, that you're talking about. And before I forget to mention this, there was a fantastic article written by James Forrest. I think it was only yesterday. I think. Well, that's when I certainly read it. He published it on Fields of Green, or on Fields. I think it's on fieldsofgreen.com. His website, his blog. But James Forrest, I'm sure loads of you have read his stuff before. He used to. I don't know if he's still posting CQN, but he's certainly some of his posts are fantastic reading. And he's done an article, and it's just about that, how and he's talking more about Celtic. But it's the same thing. It's the link to Celtic in Ireland, but it's how Celtic are hated in Scotland. They're hated in Scotland as a country, but when you go outside of Scotland, Celtic are loved by pretty much every nation that we visit or every nation that we touch. But for some reason, the nation that we play our football in, there's this kind of hatred of us. But if you haven't read it, I'll try and find the link, and I'll tweet it out. But it's quite a long article, as James Forrest articles usually are, but it's really, really good reading. So you have a little look at it. Liam,
do you know, Kev? Sorry, Kev. Do you know one of the things that annoyed me about Scotland? And don't get me wrong, I've been to Scotland games and I will cheer them and everything. And it's a very sort of simplistic thing. But when Frank McAvenny was scoring for fun in Scotland, so he was at West Ham and he was one of the I think leading the goal scoring down there and did sensational. Came to Celtic scoring for fun. He got 5 caps, seriously, and up till 1988. Are we being serious about that? We couldn't have. Now, it's not that I don't think there was a total anti-Celtic thing, but it seems to me as if a player has to play much better for Celtic than some other Glasgow teams in order to make sure he gets a cap sort of thing. That was one of the things that, and I remember as at games going in Roxburgh coming in and being booed at Celtic Park because people were saying that how come McAvenny is not just not scoring for fun, or sorry, not getting in the Scotland squad for fun. Now I don't know whether his extracurricular activities may not have or may have put a dampener on some of that, but that to me was one of the things that went, what chance have we got? You know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Pat, you've I've not asked you this at all, mate, but I mean your view on the whole thing, and I'll legitimately ask this as well. It's not just a Celtic Scotland thing; it's the Ireland Scotland thing as well. But what's your own views on where it stands, mate?
I just wasn't surprised by it. I'm not, and I never will be. It'll take several generations before it gets to the point where the Irish descendants are accepted by Scottish people. It seems to be I won't sort of hide the fact that's one of the main reasons for me leaving the place was because of that bigotry and just having a name like mine's, where it kind of stands out like a fucking sore thumb, that people hear your name and instantly judge you, and that bugs me. It's not it's not the way I was brought up. It's not the way my family lived their lives, and that just bugged me. And obviously the town I come from was a fairly staunch Protestant town, and Orange Walks were, well, we'd have them every weekend, Kev. They were just we couldn't get enough of them, But that's just the way it was. That you had to hide your identity pretty much. You wouldn't leave the house with your Celtic scarf on for fear of your windows getting panned in that night. And it is that's I'm not. I wouldn't.
Airdrie was never that bad, Pat. The only reason Airdrie get bad press is because it was joined on to bloody Coatbridge and it was right next door. So because Coatbridge was so Celtic minded, that's why Airdrie got a worse rap than it did, I think, because it was close. But St Margaret's was the largest Catholic school in the region, mate.
Yeah, I know, but you think of the actual area that took in like all the villages, all the old little mining villages around about. Which were primarily of Irish, people of Irish descent living in them, because that's people that came to work in the mines are from Ireland. So, but you put the two non-denominational schools in inverted commas together, and they were bigger than St Margaret's, combined sort of thing. So,
of course,
but no, that's the sort of town. But anyway, that's.
But we're not talking Lark Hall context here, Pat. Airdrie and Lark Hall.
It wasn't. It was. You would not, in my time in Airdrie and living there for 25, 26 years of my life, you would not have seen people walk down Airdrie Main Street with a Celtic strip on until I was probably mid-20s. It rarely happened. I'm not saying there was none, but it took a brave man to do it. Now that's just the way that we were brought up. That you kind of had to hide your identity a little bit. That you didn't want to be targeted in any way, kind of shape or form. Maybe that was just where the area where we live, but the simple fact
wasn't like that in Cairnhill, mate. It wasn't like that in Cairnhill.
That's because that's the point.
Well, it was like that in Maryhill. I still, when I even go to games here, roll up my scarf and stick it not in the inside pocket, but right into the back of my jacket so it can't be seen. My wife laughs at me. But
you take a scarf to the games, man.
Aye. I take it. Aye, when I'm going on fun. Aye, I take a scarf, mate. Aye, I've got no issue with that, but I will put it in, and that was part of it. Was growing up in Glasgow, you didn't want to get your scarf, you didn't want to get your colour seen, so you would hide it.
You need to liberate yourself, mate. Liberate yourself.
No, but what I'm saying is, this isn't just an Airdrie or something thing. This was, and look, it's a disgrace that people get beaten up and basically and also die over a sport and over a game, and it's something that people need to cop onto themselves about. It's a disgrace, but it's also what it is. It's also what happens, and it's so Pat. It's certainly not just an Airdrie thing.
I remember coming home from a game I can still remember this. Anyone who is in Airdrie, whoever listens to this, our bus used to go up the main street, but for some reason there was hardly anyone on the bus, whatever game it was, and we get dropped off at the top cross, as they call it in Airdrie. So a bit more of a walk for me, to get home. And the area of Airdrie that I lived, I had to basically walk past the Orange Hall. Now, I can still remember to this day, I had this big blue, so it was winter time, it was dark, this big blue jacket on, zipped up right to my neck, and it was cold, so I had my scarf on, but my scarf was...
Why were you wearing a blue jacket to a Celtic game? You're a mentalist anyway.
Dark navy blue. I got it from work and it was really warm, so anyway, that's why I wore it to the games. And I remember having my scarf tucked basically right down the neck. There's no way, there must have been, if any sticking out, it had been a centimetre of it. And I walked past, I might have been across the road, and this guy walked up from the Orange Hall and spat on me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of place where we lived. And I'm not saying it was just me and just an Airdrie unique thing, but that's in a certain way that you kind of lived in Coatbridge, and it was probably a bit easier in the fact that you were in the majority rather than the minority. But when you were in that sort of environment, that's just the way it was. You kind of, and again, I don't want to die sort of going too long about this one, but essentially the way I see it is that people in Scotland who have of Irish descent, until the point comes where their identity is acknowledged and celebrated in a certain, to a certain extent, there will be a large element of those people who will feel an affiliation more to the motherland, if you think about it, than it is to Scotland. It will happen eventually, and it's kind of hard. Like, it's different even now from when I left. So in 15, 16, 17 years, it's changed even this a few times I've been back. You can certainly see things change and things improve, but it will take generations to get to the point where people living in harmony, people don't really care who you are. There'll be little elements of it, and that's the way. Like, when I'll give an example. There was I can't remember the last time I listened to one of these, like Radio Clyde or Radio Scotland phone-ins, but whatever had happened in the football world or whatever, I just chose to listen to this thing. And a guy, it was probably Radio Clyde. It would have been Radio Clyde. There was a phone in, and this guy phoned up and started sort of debating with you could tell it was an older guy. Started debating with the presenters of this show, and it was obviously about Rangers and all that sort of stuff. And they sort of raised whatever it was about Celtic, and he goes, "What Celtic? Why are you even talking about them? They're not even Scottish. They're an Irish club." And the presenters didn't challenge this guy in any way, shape or form at all. And he said it once, twice, three times. It wasn't just a fly. He said it several times. They're not even a Scottish club. Why are you even referring to them? They're an Irish club. And I was fucking fuming. I was thinking, but again, that it just put it in my head as that's part of the reason I just wanted out of the place, because that just over here I can wear a Celtic strip, I can wear green, I've got Celtic number plates in the car, and you just don't care. You celebrate it over here, and it's that whole, you kind of feel liberated in a certain way.
It's acceptable to do that for the team you support or the team you love over here, no matter what sport it might be.
That's right.
Okay, so can I ask you this then, right? How come everywhere else, or not everywhere else, but a large place round the world, you can have a St. Paddy's Day parade and it'll be absolutely sensational.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to get.
However, it's all right to batter your drums up and down the street week after week to play it. Now, you know what? Good luck to people in the Orange Lodge if they want to go and celebrate a battle. Right, fair. Right, that's their choice. I think it's far too often celebrated, but right, okay. But how come you can't have a St. Paddy's Day parade, or they don't have a St. Paddy's Day parade?
Well, I mean,
come on now, and this is also. I suppose I'm going to do the line. I'm going to do also the line of, this is not everybody in the west coast of Scotland. This is just a certain element of it. But I just think, to me, it's that to me highlights just the difference. That to me highlights how different it is.
That's a very good point. So if I could just come in there, guys, the thing that bothers me as much as the racism is the blatant double standards and how it's put across. Right, and this isn't just for the Orange Walk and whatever, right? I'll give you a few examples here, right? Now, these are things that I experienced as a Celtic fan, right? in Glasgow and also around Scotland. Now, imagine if I was a Muslim or if I was black and the same things were being said to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching Celtic play Aberdeen, and all I hear from the Aberdeen fans is, "You're in the wrong fucking country. Fuck off back to your own country."
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, you go to see when we play the Huns, and they are singing songs about basically murdering the population of another country,
mm-hmm.
and glorifying in it.
Mm-hmm.
No, the other thing is, just to clarify this, I'm a bit different from the rest of you here in that although I've got a very Irish sounding name,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got Irish great grandparents,
Yeah.
never been to Ireland, not particularly interested in Ireland. I don't support the Irish national football team, although I don't have anything against them either. I'm kind of indifferent to the whole Irish thing.
Mm-hmm.
But just simply because I've got an Irish sounding name, I am categorised the same way as Pat said. You know, growing up in Airdrie, growing up in Forsyth was pretty similar.
Yeah.
And you know, you're hit with all these labels, and it really annoys me. You know, because like even now when I'm living in Japan now, and in Japan people say to me, "Oh, you're for the UK." I says, "Well, I'm for Scotland."
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Oh, so you're not British?" I says, "No, I'm Scottish." They're like, "Fine, no problem with that.
Yes.
I accept that."
Yeah.
Whereas you say that sort of thing to the average Hun, and it's no, your passport's British. You're British. Deal with it. It's like, no. A person. See, to be honest, I think like a person's national identity, and this goes into the whole Aidan McGeady thing as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
A person's national identity to me is the same as a person's, a person's lifestyle, a person's sexual orientation, a person's health issues. See, if someone wants to ask me that, I'm quite right to say it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we do what we want, and we should be able to choose whichever country we feel most comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no one else's business to tell me that I'm not allowed to be Irish, or I'm not allowed to be Scottish, or I'm not allowed to be Japanese. You know, it's like, because right now, see, tell you the truth, right now, I've lived in Japan for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, it happened last week in the rugby. Japan played Scotland, and I actually found myself shouting for Japan.
Uh-huh.
Nothing against
And see,
Scotland,
that's the bizarre thing,
more at home in
Liam,
Japan
now,
than I do in
because
Scotland.
yeah, and you know what? I can understand that. I can completely understand that, and I would never castigate you for that, mate, at all. Because I can, and I think that's part of the problem, Liam. I think there's people that are so, and Tony Cassidy made a good point on the chat room there. He says that he's noticed that folk who are maybe third, fourth, or longer generation Irish, you become less and less interested or affinity, or have an affinity with Ireland, and you can get that as well, because as it gets diluted, and no matter what your name is, whether it's a good Irish name like yourself, Liam, or not, it doesn't really matter. But people form opinions, but it doesn't mean to say that you've got that same affinity with Ireland. But Martin's got genuine reasons for having an affinity with Ireland. I've got genuine reasons for having an affinity with Ireland, and so have countless other people that have an affinity with Ireland, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not I'm not a Scotland hater, and I never was a Scotland hater, but because I had a slightly, what I always said, guys, was that if Scotland were playing anybody at any sport or anything, if Scotland were involved, I would want Scotland to win. But if they happened to be playing Ireland, I would support Ireland. Now, that was it. There was nothing more than that. I wasn't one of these guys. And I get this bit as well. There were, and when I was growing up as well, you got your wee guys that just hadn't got a clue, and they had probably no connection with Ireland or nothing to do with it, but they jumped on a bandwagon, and they didn't just become pro-Ireland people. They became anti-Scotland people. Now, I was never anti-Scotland. I was always, you know what I mean? I was always, in terms of sport and things like that, I was never anti-Scotland. I get pissed off a lot by the way you would be treated if you weren't, you know, a Scotland diehard and all the rest of it. And there were valid reasons why I would never have went to see a Scotland game. Because when I was growing up watching Scotland play football, it was the times when they were booing Paul McStay and stuff like that. and they were booing any Celtic player that would come on as a sub for Super Ali or whoever the hell. You know, it was that kind of thing that I would never have felt comfortable standing shoulder to shoulder at Hampden Park with Scotland fans. And that was the era when a lot of Scotland fans would have been Rangers fans. All of a sudden, Rangers fans became England fans. Well, sorry, before they became England fans, they were Holland fans. And then somebody obviously twigged on something that they thought, well, wait a minute here. We waved the Union Jack. Let's become England fans. And all of a sudden, there was this mass shift from Huns to become England fans and things like that. So, like, latterly, I think the majority of fun-loving Scotland fans, and let's not forget as well, Scotland fans have got a similar reputation across the globe as Celtic fans and as Irish fans have. Fun-loving guys. There's probably no coincidence, is because the only Sevco fans that will go and support them are actually quite decent guys. And you'll have Aberdeen fans and Motherwell fans and St Johnstone fans and Dundee fans and Celtic fans and Partick Thistle fans all going along because they love having fun. And you know what? They're not the guys that are necessarily poisoned with this whole kind of anti-Irish and there probably is still a smattering of anti-Celtic stuff, but you certainly would not hear it as bad as you would have in the 80s.
But, sorry, Kev, can I talk? And we have been talking about this for quite a while, but there's a couple of other small comments. I've had enough of the Scottish press just ignoring some of this. So, Celtic Rangers game, they throw potatoes and talk about the famine, and it's all right. 1.5 million died, 2 million people forced away. They throw potatoes, talk about chant about the famine, and that's all right, and there's nobody condemning them. And let's take it one.
Do you know what it is, Martin? I think, sorry mate for interrupting, but I think that's the point. It's not that it's all right, it's they don't say anything about it or they don't condemn it. So it's like, let's just ignore it. Let's just ignore it and pretend it doesn't happen.
Or if somebody does pull them up, it's, listen, you're getting on your high horse here, again, uppity, right? But let's take banter. Banter. But let's take it to another level, right? When our people across the city went bankrupt, right? And some people said, you know what, it gives them a chance at a new start, right? Mm-hmm. And it was, no, we've got a history, right? I didn't hear it of them going, do you know what, maybe it's time us acknowledge that in our lifetime, a major Scottish institution would not employ a Catholic. Full stop. No ifs, no buts, no, I think you're being a wee bit harsh and I don't think you understand. Let's go back to, they would joke about it on Scotch and Rye. Right, at New Year.
Yeah,
that's
right.
How open it was. It wasn't it's just we've not quite got the right guy yet. It was openly, they had a sectarian signing policy and that's what they did. Right, but we won't talk about it. We'll just sort of, it was just the times. And it was just the times we were in. Well, maybe it was the times they were in, right? But it's something that has to be acknowledged. But it's not. Now, some people wrote some very, very good articles on it and talked about it being an absolute disgrace. But again, that's what we're dealing with here, right? That's where I think it's to the core. That's where I'm saying it's to the core in Scottish media, and it comes right up to now and talk about McGeady and that not playing for Scotland and having a go at them, but they're quite happy he'd take it the other way and go, no, it's not, and they're quite happy for potatoes to be thrown. Or maybe not quite happy, but nobody. I would can you imagine if something like that happened down, in England to a team, right? Can you imagine, like, let's take Tottenham with a big Jewish support. Can you imagine some stuff like that got thrown at a Tottenham game? All hell would break loose. But it seems as if the media is scared to stand up and go, do you know what? That's an absolute disgrace. Let's also take another thing, and my God, I keep saying we have to have a short podcast and I've now been ranting for hours. The whole Neil Lennon thing, when Neil Lennon got attacked when he was doing his job, At what point I didn't see the Scottish Managers Association going, I tell you right now, we're going on strike this weekend. We're going to stand up. This is an absolute and utter disgrace. I didn't see that. When Neil Lennon was booed every time he got the ball, and it was, because it's how he is. Really? So let me be clear. Somebody who goes to his work every week gets abused, and that's okay? It's just, and do you know what? It's time. And this is why the mainstream media is struggling, because people won't stand up and make these calls. There's something, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they're saying, do you know I think one of the reasons why the mainstream media, the radio and that's struggling in Scotland, because we don't know who they support, and they're not being honest enough, right? See if a guy comes out and goes, hi, like I say, I've got a lot of time for Graham Spears, and he comes out and says, you know what, first time when I was young, I used to go and see Rangers. I'm not a Rangers fan anymore, right? But that's it. Let's be honest with it. At least Keevans says he was a Celtic fan. We don't believe half of these boys because they pretend to be St Mirren fans, Motherwell. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them are. But how, you tell me, you go through all of the Scottish football and there's only one or two Celtic and Rangers fans, unless you played for them, unless you're DJ or whatever. Come on, behave yourselves, boys. Be honest with them, right? And it's no mean that they can't criticise or they're not. But see if they're actually honest, then we'll actually maybe believe what they're talking about. But that, and it goes to the core, when you have reporters not able to honestly say, listen, of course I was a Celtic fan. What's the big deal with that? Or a Rangers fan. And I suppose I'm going to make it clear. My best mate in Scotland is a Rangers fan. He was my best man at my wedding, and he's godfather to my boy, right? He's a nicer guy you could not. So this isn't a Celtic or a Rangers thing or anything, but this is a general what's wrong with a societal thing.
Do you know what? It's and again, it's I'll bring the whole, and we're all in this same boat, guys, because we have all emigrated, but taking ourselves away from what it's like over there, it does put things into a different perspective. But just what you're saying there as well, Martin, about panel shows, whether it's on radio or whatever back in Scotland, and you know guys that are associated with Celtic are associated with Sevco, or ones like Chick Young who claim to be St Mirren fans and all this pish. But there is a kind of veil over them all, and you know, there still is this kind of underlying kind of about who do you really support kind of idea. But I mean, I get that and I understand that, but I do agree to an extent as well. There's too much of this hiding behind certain thoughts or certain guises as to what they are or what they aren't. Whereas again, in Australia, when you look at the Aussie rules, the guys that you get on this, and again, I watch when it's the Aussie rules season. I watch it, and I've got my Foxtel, so it's Fox Footy. There's a dedicated channel called Fox Footy, and it's on like 24/7. It's still going on just now, even when the season's finished. But the guys that are on the panel, these guys, they don't hide what they are. You know, they're quite. Eddie Maguire's your prime candidate, so for guys back home and stuff, he's the president of Collingwood Football Club, but he's like a very very high profile guy in the media over here, both on radio and on television. He was like the Chris Tarrant from the 90s, I suppose. He was never off the bloody telly over here, and he's actually a good Celt as well. He's I can't remember, is it his mother or his father's from Hamilton?
His father.
Father's from Hamilton, his mother's Irish. So Eddie Maguire, so he's got definitely a big soft spot for Celtic as well. But anyway, Eddie Maguire, as you guys will testify, he nails his colours to the mast. He's Collingwood chairman, but he doesn't sit on the fence when he's on the panel. Either does the other guys from all the other teams that they used to play for and all the rest of it. They just do it, but people accept it because they wouldn't expect anything else. So why try to pretend you're something you're not? And
Kev's right. But it's not just sportsmen. You're talking comedians. You're talking actors and stuff like that. You get all sorts on panel shows over here. So, look, guys, this has been going for 100 and something minutes already. So we're already kind of over what we're planning on doing. What I will sort of finish up with, I've been listening intently to what you guys are saying. But again, as Kev says, when you're away for a while, you can kind of stand back and look at it with a bit more perspective, right? So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, right? I'm a reporter for the Daily Record, right? And I come out and I say, Rangers and what they did before, they're a bunch of swines or a bunch of bastards. It's disgraceful what they did. Do you think I'm going to work for the Daily Record for long? Do you think I'm going to be on Twitter, I'm going to be on Facebook, I'm going to be on all these different sort of Instagram, the whole flipping lot? Do you think for 1 second that I'm going to be left alone to do my job peacefully after saying something like that? Of course I'm not. You think of what happened to Phil McGillivan. He releases a book, Downfall, and all of a sudden there's campaigns against shops and stuff like that, and he has to withdraw it from certain shops, and because people are objecting to the book being sold, and it's just about stating fact. He wasn't making up stories; he was just stating fact. So you have to think about all that sort of stuff as well. As that
that's true.
If a reporter, if a presenter, if a radio presenter and stuff like that turns around and castigates or criticises one half of the divide, they are instantly targeted, jumped on, the whole lot, and it goes
by the other half,
and it goes both ways.
But again, does that not highlight what's wrong with the society back there? Does that not highlight what's wrong with it?
Potentially.
Potentially.
I'm just
could lose a job over it.
All I'm saying is that if you're in that position and your job, you have been trained, and your expertise is in journalism or in radio presenting or whatever the hell it is, something in the media, and instantly you think of what's happened to Jim Spence, states fact, and all of a sudden his career at the BBC is gone. Whether he was pushed, whether he walked, whether he just couldn't take any more.
I thought he was still with them, was he not?
No, he's gone.
No, he's freelance now.
Yep, he's gone because of basically being targeted,
standing up to the establishment. Well, Liam, much. I mean, you're a guy in our midst here that's got some experience of exactly what Pat's talking about, coming through the journalistic ranks and all the rest of it. I mean, when you were coming through, did you feel this kind of pressure, or were you ever? Pat talked about training there. Now, I don't know, and I don't want to really put you on the spot. You don't have to answer it, Liam, if you don't want to, but when you were coming through as a journalist, did you get advised any certain things that you could or couldn't say? And I don't know, were you involved in sports writing or whatever, but can you shed some light on what Pat's hinting at there?
What I'll say is, and again, this is me being, quite biased in what I say, I guess, but I was lucky that at the time, now remember this was back in the early 2000s, when I was coming up, I was a junior reporter with probably, I think, the only newspaper that today still has any integrity in the Scottish mainstream, and that was the Herald.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that time, of course, I always wrote my reports in a balanced, neutral and fair way to the best of my ability, because that's what journalists are supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, I was lucky that at the Herald at that time, the sports editor was a guy called Donald Cowie, who had actually moved to the Herald from Celtic's media department. And the deputy editor was Kevin McKenna, who's also a prominent Celtic fan.
Yeah.
Those two guys pretty much mentored me and taught me what I needed to know about journalism. And to this day, I'm very grateful to both of them for that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both Celtic men. But, on the same sports desk at that time, you had Darrell Broadfoot, decent writer, but pretty much a hun, right? You had some of the old boys like Ken Gallagher, who was also well known for being a blue nose.
Was James Traynor still at the Herald at that time, Liam, or had he moved to the rest already?
Traynor had left about 18 months before that. Luckily, I never had to work with that pig because I'd heard some truly horrible things about him. Not just in the team he supports, but his general behaviour. I mean, well, I guess I can say this because it's public knowledge. Most writers, well, any writer at a newspaper, you write a story and it goes through a process called subbing, right? Where basically, I write a story, it's submitted to the newspaper, it passes through a guy who edits the story and makes any changes if there's like spelling mistakes or if there's grammar errors and he'll fact check it. someone else will usually write the headline. That's not my job as the writer.
Right.
And then it'll finally come to the chief sub, who will then say, right, that's okay, boom, it goes into the paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jim Traynor was the only journalist I've ever heard of in mainstream media whose work was never subbed.
Oh, okay.
Because he insisted, whatever I write, it's good enough to go straight to print. That was the arrogance of the man.
Right.
No, I've never worked with him directly, but I've multiple people I know in the business have told me that, and I've no reason to disbelieve them.
Yeah, sorry, Kev. I was going to make a comment, and it just goes back to what you were saying there. This guy supports this team, but if that's what I'm saying. It's you can openly go through reporters that you were talking about there and going Celtic man, Rangers man, or what. How come very few people that make it onto the radio support Celtic or Rangers? That's very boys, just treat us with some respect and openly say...
Most of them do, man.
No,
Most
but
of
they
them
won't
do.
come, what I mean? What I'm saying is, Chick Young, no, I'm thinking, you know what I mean? Come out and treat us like an adult, right? There's a guy I think he's something like Mindful Bear or something on Twitter. Me and him have conversations about the football all the time. He's a Rangers fan. But he's a Rangers fan. I wouldn't call him a Hun. I wouldn't even call him a Blue Nose. He's right, and I don't know the guy apart from Twitter.
Do you call him a Seth Conian?
No, I probably would actually. But what I'm saying is, you can have that conversation. I think it's the lack of respect they have for fans, but then it is the culture that we've all been brought up in, that they couldn't actually just come out and say, I am a Rangers fan, big deal, but I've wrote a story and it's either pro or anti-Rangers or whatever. Do you know, that's what I'm saying is one of the issues with the whole thing is that at times they have to hide what they are, and you're going, but I've got much more respect for you. See, if I know you're a Rangers fan, right, but you pretend that you're not, then I don't know what to believe. Where see if they just go out and go, I'm a Rangers fan. I went to Ibrox all the time as a Wayne, but now I can't go because I'm working or whatever. There's much more respect there for that.
Yeah, I don't think we disagree with that. But Liam, thanks for giving us a little insight into things again in the old journalistic world, mate. Because it's definitely a bit of a minefield. And again, I'll try and make this point again that Pat was touching on. See, when you have emigrated guys, and you touched on it yourself, Liam, that when you were watching the Scotland-Japan game in the rugby last weekend, that you were shouting on Japan more than Scotland. And again, I get that, especially if you've spent 10 years there. I'm now proud to say I don't feel as bad towards Scotland as I kind of used to do when I was kind of growing up there, and the way they made me feel bad for being somebody that felt more Irish than Scottish. I think in the short, I do still think I've only been in Oz a short time, just about 6 years, just under. But I mean, I've got an affinity with Australia now. I'm an Australian citizen. I would describe myself as quite a proud Scots-Irish Australian. I don't see an issue with that, but other people might have. But I definitely have fonder feelings for Scotland, having left Scotland. And you hear about this all the time of people that go away and become teary-eyed about it and all the rest of it. I wouldn't say I become teary-eyed, but from having left Scotland, I definitely have a stronger affinity with Scotland and a saltire and all the rest of it, being away from it than I did when I was there. And again, that's me just being completely honest with you guys. I'll still support Ireland, but I'm still I'm feeling, if I could just say, I maybe feel more Scottish living in Oz than I felt when I lived in Scotland, if that makes sense to any of you. But it makes sense to me, and as Liam said earlier on, that's all that should really matter. And if anybody wants to challenge me on it, well, fair enough. And if anybody thinks that I'm an arse for that, then it's just because you don't understand what's going on in my head or my feelings, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But it should all be about respect, and we respect everybody's opinions, and if everybody did, then the world would be a far happier place, gentlemen, I think we believe.
I will go back to it. I'll say when when it gets to the point where the Irish descendants are given that respect and then their identity is acknowledged by others in Scotland, that's when things will change. But it ain't going to happen in this generation. It'll take 2 or 3.
So long as organisations like the Orange Order still exist in Scotland, mate,
that will exist for hundreds of years. That's still going to exist.
It'll be beyond our lifetime then, mate, I'm afraid.
Exactly, but that will continue. But you let them, and I speak to people over there who were, not so much these days, but certainly were part of that sort of organisation and organisations like it, and they say that it's just becoming less and less a factor in Scotland, and eventually the time will come when people just wake up to themselves and go, "This is just stupid. It's just silly. Don't know why I'm even doing this anymore." And people just wake up to themselves. You get up, you grow up, you get more mature. You start to, rather than you do what your father did, and your father went there and stuff like that, you start to think for yourself. And there's so many distractions in life these days that'll become irrelevant. But again, it'll be 2 generations away. So
you know what? One final thing I'm going to say in this, and it's something that does unite people as Scottish, and it was the whole. Well, again, only if you were supporting independence, of course. If you weren't, then no, it wouldn't unite you. But that whole referendum campaign, the whole. The Scottish thing that was going on in the vibe at the time, that is where you did have Celtic fans and Rangers fans or Sefco fans standing shoulder to shoulder for a common cause or a common belief. And there is a good mate of mine who's back in Coatbridge who's I'll mention his name. There's no way he'll ever listen to this because I don't think he ever would. But Chris Mancy. Back in Coatbridge, he's a big Rangers fan, but he's a really good guy. He's a great guy, and most of his mates are Celtic fans. And but Chris Mancy is a huge fan of Scottish independence, as I am myself. And in that whole run up to the campaign, Chris and myself would always have banter on Facebook. Him slagging me and slagging Celtic, and me doing the same for him and Sefco. But in that whole run-up to the yes referendum, the two of us were shoulder to shoulder on issues and would be arguing the very same points against somebody else. Some Celtic fans who were unionists and things like that, and I would quite happily have stood shoulder to shoulder with Chris. For Scottish independence, going against a Celtic fan who was arguing for unionism and stuff like that. So, I mean, it can change. That's why, to me, the whole thing about it being a religious thing is completely out the window. It's never been that. The whole Ireland question for me has never been about religion. It's about politics. It's about culture. It's about a way of life. And there is hope when there's guys like that are out there that have similar feelings. There is hope for the future. But yeah, to go back to that whole thing about an organisation that just lives for the hatred of Ireland and all things Irish, unfortunately, as long as they've got followers, it's never really going to help matters back in Scotland. And that's. As you say, Pat, it's one of the reasons as to why we maybe live the other side of the world now. Right, boys, I think we've talked long and weary about this. It's been a Celtic podcast, and then it's got highly political towards the end for about the last hour, potentially. So apologies to anybody that's listening back and saying, what the hell's going on here? But
sorry, guys, my fault.
Oh no!
Listen, Liam, you obviously when you were pulling that list together, it was obviously a topic that we feel passionately about, mate. So no, please don't apologise. I'll just apologise for people coming on just wanting to talk about Celtic and all the rest of it. Before we do, can I wrap up and we'll hand over to Pat for the little outro, but. Very, very quick. It's not even a preview. It's just we play Motherwell at Fir Park tomorrow. Mark McGee has come in as the new manager of Motherwell, and it could be a good appointment for them. Quite high-profile guy, and he's certainly. We've got good memories of Mark McGee playing with Celtic around the centenary season time as well. So he might do a good job, and as can happen, when a new manager comes to a team, you might give them a little bit of a lift tomorrow. So we're maybe getting them at a bad time, and it's at Fir Park. But we'll just go around the panel to get the score predictions for tomorrow night. It's a nice 7 o'clock kick-off on a Saturday evening in WA, which is outstanding. It's a slightly later 10 o'clock kick-off in Melbourne, and that'll be a 8 o'clock kick-off with you, Liam.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, anyways, this side of the world, it's not too bad. Saturday night kick-off, we'll all be tuning in, hopefully. But we'll go around the panel, Martin. What's your score prediction and scorers, if you can?
7-0.
Mm-hmm.
Lee
I wouldn't
Griffiths.
expect anything less from you.
Thank you. Lee Griffiths.
Lee Griffiths to get all 7.
No, that'd be ridiculous.
Of course.
He'll get 5.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 for Effie Ambrose.
Very good, very good. Both overhead kicks from Effie.
No, but for one will just be a dodgy sort of toe poke deflection, and then the 7th will be Naka-esque against the Huns. Remember that screamer?
I do remember. Remember it well.
That will be Effie. That will be an Effie
and he'll
goal.
do his head little flip thing, after each goal. His little celebration flip.
He'll just strut back to the centre circle. Just cool.
That's where your prediction might fall down. If Effie gets on the score sheet, he's doing his somersaults, mate. That's a certainty.
That's my prediction. So 7-0.
So stick your then cash on that one.
Martin, I've got to say that you've just brought back about 1,000 memories, mate, because I can remember when I was just a lad, I remember going to see Celtic play Motherwell at Fir Park, and Charlie Nicholas scored a hat-trick, and it was either 7-0 or 7-1. And I was just a lad, so there you go. I thought, as soon as you said it, I was going to say Nicholas got a hat-trick.
I was beaten St Mirren 2 or 3 times, like 7-1. I remember quite a few, enough times that beating them 7-1. So I always think against St Mirren.
It's 7-1. A famous score, boys. It's a famous score line for the old Glasgow Celtic.
I'm going to try and find this now. Come to me last, Kev.
I'll come to you last. Right, Liam, you're up, mate. What's your score prediction and scorers?
3-0 to Celtic.
You giving us some scores?
Griffiths with 2.
Yep.
And Big Effie, header for a corner.
Big Effie steaming in. Right, because I'm going to part last, I'm going to go a slightly more boring 2-0 to Celtic. I don't think Motherwell will score. And the goal scorers will be Lee Griffiths and... Well, this is slightly more difficult. Lee Griffiths and... Is Nir Bitton playing tomorrow? I'm going to go Bitton if he's playing. I haven't checked who. I know there's loads of injuries and stuff like that, but bugger it, I'll go for Griffiths and Bitton. I think Griffiths is maybe injured tomorrow as well. Are they not talking about he's maybe injured? Or am I talking rubbish?
He'll play for the first 15 minutes and get my 5 goals, and then
he's got an ankle injury. I think you're right.
Oh Christ! Right, we could be struggling then. I'll go 3-0 to Motherwell then. No, well, hell, as if. No, 2-0 to Celtic, but my scorers, I'll just need to defer on that. Right, Pat, are you ready?
I found it. There's actually a video of Charlie Nicholas getting his hat-trick against Motherwell on the 18th of September, 1982.
82?
And I was there.
What? 10?
11 years,
Were you
11 years old.
10? 11? There you go, son. Unbelievable.
I remember it vividly.
Post up the link, please. Post up the link.
It goes for...
Tweet the link. Martin, stop yawning, for Christ's sake.
Come on, hurry up. I'm tired now.
We're nearly done, man. I know it's
only been like 4 hours.
I know it's getting near midnight over there for you, but calm yourself, man.
Right, so for me, it's going to be 3-0. Somebody's going to score an overhead kick. And,
as usual.
Every single game we do. I would say, are you ready for this? Tom Rogic, a double. and defender.
Is
Which
Big
defender's
Tam
gonna-
going to play? Is Big Tam going to play?
He's going to play. Mike Mullins a sub.
See if he does. Well, do you know what? No, because I said Griffithson. He's probably not playing. So, but Big Rogic.
And
See, you say Rogic, I say Rogic. I think I'm right, mate. We need people to confirm this for us because he's Serbian, isn't he?
Is he? I'm not sure.
Aye, I think he is. But it's Rogic. You say the hard G. Rogic. It's not Rogic that everybody else says. It's Rogic.
Okay.
Right?
I stand corrected. Jesus. Okay.
No, you don't have to be. Somebody can correct me, but I just know I'm fucking right. Just learn your Serbian.
No, you're a dick. But anyway, it's another story.
Oh no.
So
listen to Fox. Listen to the old footy on Foxtel, mate. They'll pronounce it the right way. Rogic.
Right.
Tommy Rogic. It's not fucking Rogic. Anyway, right. Sorry, Pat. What were you saying?
Shut it, Kev. Is what I was trying to say. But
Right.
Lustig with the third.
All right.
There you go. No bother. And Scott McDonald. Is he still playing for Motherwell these days?
Oh, is he?
I think
he
so.
is.
Oh,
I think
Christ,
they-
they're going to be. We'll be 1-0 up, and then they'll beat us 2-1 with 5
No.
minutes to go.
Scott McDonald will miss a penalty.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh.
I'm not happy that he's playing. I'm getting bad thoughts now and bad feelings.
Right, before, I know we're wrapping up and stuff like that, but let's just spare a thought, boys. Today is the day for the Rangers fraud case in Edinburgh.
They're
It's
all up
happening-
at the High Court or something,
it's
aren't they?
happening
They're
right
all
now,
arriving.
Yeah, so let's spare a thought for Charlie Green and Craig White, who are up there in
Craig White.
court, so please spare a
See,
thought for them.
The beauty of that is, you say the Rangers fraud case. My first thought was, which one?
Well said, Liam. Well said, mate. There's been plenty of them.
There's actually a hashtag on Twitter that I just picked up, a Rangers fraud case. If you just do that hashtag, you'll find some guy, James Dolman, was it? James Dolman.
Right.
Supporting from Edinburgh.
Oh, I
Protest.
think Tony Cassidy had put that up there.
So he's
Aye, James
Craig White
Coleman.
leaves the court for lunch. He's
Oh,
left
aye.
for lunch, boys. That was
I'll bet he's no paying for it.
27 minutes ago.
He'll be,
No.
he'll be
doesn't-
screwing it off someday.
No, it doesn't. No. I read in the paper he's got wealth off the radar, does he not?
Oh, he has, from Motherwell.
Aye.
Motherwell billionaire.
Billionaire, aye. I read it in the paper
Wealth off the
somewhere.
radar.
Hold on, did I not read that from a story from the journalist of the year, Keith Jackson in Scotland?
Jangle Jackson.
Aye, he's journalist of the year, so he's like the number one journalist in Scotland, and he wrote that he'd wealth off the radar, didn't he?
Ah, but that was many moons ago and we're still practicing, obviously.
All right, so we'll just forget about that. All right
Just-
then.
Just
Fair enough.
dust over that one, Martin.
Right.
Dust
So
over
then, maybe if he's not a billionaire, maybe somebody else will need to buy him lunch then.
that. Potentially. He'll put it on expenses to somebody anyway.
Actually,
Let's be
maybe,
honest, we'd all buy him lunch if we had the chance, right?
Absolutely we would. Jelly and ice cream it would be, Liam. Right, boys, we need to wrap this up. For crying out loud, this is ridiculous. So, Patrick, you've lined up some outro for us, and this is a bit of a down thing again now. It's been quite a good. I've enjoyed the debate and the discussion, etc. And now we're going to play some more Aussie Rules football team tunes to play us out.
We are. This week,
Jesus.
This week, Kev, I'll be mostly playing the Richmond Tigers, which
Yep.
is perceived as being the
Jason
best.
Stanage, fair play to Jason Stanage, my good mate. He's a big Tigers man.
So it's perceived to be the best footy song around there, and I thought I'd do a bit of I guess a bit of an honour for the two grand finalists, Hawthorn and the West Coast Eagles.
The Hawthorn
they-
Hawks and the West
Hawthorn
Coast
Hawks,
Eagles. Another
So-
Perth team. Stevie Fallon's team.
Say Fallon's team, our good friend Valenzo, and so Hawthorn completely spanked them. So it was actually a fairly shit grand final that
Was.
we went to a grand final barbecue with some friends of ours, and I reckon I watched the first 20 minutes of it and spent the rest of the time in the garden. And,
Quite right,
sitting
because
there,
that was all
eating
about
food,
it,
drinking, playing, kick about with the boys and stuff like that. So,
It was shooty in. It was shooty in.
It was crap. So, but anyway, so I just thought keep the theme going, put a few songs on at the end of it. And stuff
West
like that.
Coast
It's a bit-
Eagles footy song has got to be one of the worst. Especially, you've got to picture this. Never mind what the tune sounds like. Just picture 18 guys standing in a circle singing when they win a game. The West Coast Eagles is one of the shortest and worst footy songs in the game. It's dreadful. Anyway, tee it up, Pat, and play us out from
I'm
this
trying-
Celtic
I'm
podcast.
still trying to
This
tweet this.
Celtic podcast we're playing out, mate.
Well,
I'm
hold
still
on,
trying.
boys. I need to do a quick shout out to my Waynes because they crack it if I don't. So, the three boys, Daddy loves you very much, and do what I'm telling you to do whenever you listen to this as well.
Well said. Obey your father.
I'm just
There's a
tweeting
bit
out,
of
Kev.
Darth Vader for you as well.
Bye.
I'm just tweeting out, Kev. So I just wanted to point out, I just want to say, if he is listening, or hopefully he'd listen to the last couple, my Uncle Thomas back in Plains, who would have been the man that took me to watch the goal that Charlie Nicholas scored, that hat trick, was the guy who took me to that game. So thank you to the old fella. So yes, it was I don't know why I still remember it, but yes, one of the first Celtic games I think I went to, one of the first sort of away games. So sheer class in a glass. So anyway, I've just tweeted it. A whole 15
Good.
seconds worth of Charlie Nicholas joy. Ball played through to him by the bold Roy Aitken.
Oh,
There you go.
feed the bear. Feed the
Feed
bear.
the bear. So there you go.
Before I
Anyway.
forget, I'm going to and before you hit that button, I'm going to quickly say, if you're in Perth in Western Australia tomorrow, get yourself along to Rosie O'Grady's with the Perth CSC at 7 p.m. kickoff. It's an outstanding time on a Saturday evening to settle down and watch yourselves. If you're south of Perth in the good old Mandurah town, come along to Murphy's Irish Pub in the Mandurah town centre. Where we'll see it on the big screen hopefully, and we'll have sound, and there'll be quite a good little crowd there tomorrow night. And also next June, and we'll need to start talking about this and hyping it up fairly soon, Pat, there's another Huddle Down Under type of affair, type of event happening in Oz. And it's it's your long weekend. You guys get it in end of June or something like that. Whatever it is, we don't get it over here, but you guys are coming over. We're going to have a big kind of Huddle Down Under thing again. It's going to be in Perth. The Perth CSC are hosting it, and the Mandurah CSC are supporting it by about 5%. But it should be. Who's messing about with their microphone and
Martin's
sitting
in
on
bed.
the mic?
Martin Kelly's actually got to bed.
Almighty.
No, I'm not. I'm still here watching SBS.
Jesus,
Oh,
wet,
pornography,
man.
that's it. Good stuff.
So, so it's happening next June. There's a long weekend happening, and it's another big event, and we'll tell you more about it the closer it gets and once we've got some final details. But it's shaping up. I can't say too much just now, or Davy Bartley will kill me, but it's shaping up to be quite a good event with some special guests, some special Celtic guests appearing, and I'll say no more than that for now.
And
Now, Pat,
some sad eggs have actually booked their flights already.
some sad eggs like Patrick Close have already booked the flights, but that's all good, and because you know it's going to be good, Pat. You know it's going to be good.
I'm putting
It'll
my
have
faith
to
in you,
put it this way: it'll have to be good to rival the bloody the Gold Coast trip last year, because that was phenomenal. But judging by the way the Perth guys will get things set up, I think nobody's going to be disappointed.
Nope. Anyway, just final shout outs to the other Hail Hail Media guys. Not that you'll be listening to this at the end of this podcast. It's gone for about, it's over 2 hours now. So anyway, thanks to the homeboys, Belfast boys,
Used to do
Smell the
3
Glove,
yeah,
Celtic
that's
Rock and
Aye, this is
Rolls.
quite an early one.
Shut up, 90 Minute Cynics.
Shut
Who else? I've probably forgotten
You
someone.
keep talking, Pat. Aye.
TikTok. Who else is on? I forget who's on Hail Media these days. Anyway, give the Belfast boy a crack, and give the Celtic Rock and Rolls crack as well. Smell the Glove is Beyond the Waves stuff. They've done some Paul Larkin special type stuff as well. So there's Celtic stuff everywhere. So
Get out and have a
Tune in.
listen.
and yeah, go and have a listen. And they are obviously much better than us. So if you listen to us, you'll get more entertainment out of them. Anyway,
Liam, we didn't give Liam a chance to do any shout-outs or anything. He's got to give a shout-out for his Osaka #1 CSC thing or something.
Nah, can't really think of anything to shout out, boys. Sorry.
Oh well, fair play. Finally, to everybody that was good enough to leave a little comment in the chat room tonight, so to Martin Kelly, whoever he is, 6'2 Kangaroo, Chris Lynch, who was from Dunfermline early doors, Scoops Lee, David from Falkirk, Paul Stewart, Medora Bay, Chris Lynch, Tommy Doherty, William, my darling beloved sister Kathleen Green, and Tony Cassidy, Alistair Jack, and Sean Brennan gave us a big hail boys, but I never get the chance to say thank you for that one, Sean. And that's it, I think, guys. So Pat, you can play us out with these crappy AFL tunes now.
Tigerland. Anyway,
Somebody's doing the dishes in the background. Who's that?
Alright, that's actually my wife. She's went to the movies and is doing the dishes, so...
Because she didn't do them,
winner.
obviously. Because she obviously didn't do them, you lazy swine.
10 to
Bloody hell.
midnight. 10 to midnight doing the dishes. Get a dishwasher, Martin. Open up your tight ass purse and get a dishwasher for that.
Hey, I bought a dishwasher, mate. I'm the gift that keeps on giving. I bought a dishwasher. She can either use the dishwasher.
Tell her
or
to
she can
put
use
them
the
in
sink.
more quietly then.
Okay. Honey,
No,
Ken
don't.
says, can you
No,
put
don't.
the dishes
No,
in more
don't tell her
quietly?
that. Don't tell her that.
Actually, on the subject of money and Martin's got a new job, but I reckon, Martin, for the next podcast, I want you to tell people about the job that you almost got. Don't do it for this one. I do know there's a funny story to it, so...
All right, so that's going to be in 6 weeks' time then, probably. No, we'll try and be back in say a fortnight's time as we always used to do. Are we agreed, boys?
I suppose so.
I suppose so.
And Martin,
Good.
if you know what I'm talking about, it's
I
utter
don't-
pish. That's all I'm going to say. So
I do know exactly what you're talking about.
anyway, all right, that's it.
Pat,
We're going.
Play us out.
And actually, in
So-
part, the only thing I'll say is Vic Reeves.
Right, okay. Right, Pat, hit the button, mate.
Right, hooroo. Cheers, guys.
Hail, 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 hail.
Take care.
Away from Tigerland, a fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind, then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger. Yellow and black, we're from Tigerland. Oh, we're from Tigerland, a fighting fury, we're from Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin, risking head and skin. If we're behind, then never mind, we'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger. Yellow and black, we're from Tigerland. We're a happy team at Hawthorne. We're the mighty in that Bournemouth. Come what may, you'll find us striving. Teamwork is the thing that talks. One for all and all for one, the way we play at Bournemouth. We are the mighty fighting horse.
We're the Eagles, the West Coast Eagles, and we're here to show you why. We're the big birds, kings of the big game.